Felix, thank you so much for taking some time with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
So you are fifth generation at, and I know I don't say it well, but Yerman Winery. That's the English pronunciation, I guess. So what is it like to be in a family business, this tradition? Maybe you'll start, Felix.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely out of the normal kind of scene, I would say. We are exposed to a lot of opportunities, but we definitely have to work hard for them. But it's been a really fun ride up to now, and we are seeing how we are growing within the winery. Our parents have always kept us involved within the winery. We were like in the vineyards since we were born. We have beautiful memories of playing in the vineyards, which is something that will always stay within us. And just like smelling and being able to learn from a young age how to do this job and how to make wine, that has been something that our ancestor Anton Yerman started and has kept through our family.
What year was it started?
1881.
1881, wow. And when did you decide that you were going to go into the family business?
I don't think there was like a proper date that I decided. It was more of a thought process and development that I think I acquired through the maturing and my aging. As I said, we were always involved, so it was always an option for us. Nobody's going to take it away.
Yeah, he never pushed it. Our father never pushed the idea of running the winery. He was never forcing us, and yet he has 3 children that are working in the winery. And I think it's just the thrill that it gives you to work here, at least for me, I think, just like Felix, I think we fell in love with that emotion that it gives us when we come through the doors, or for me it's when I see the wine, the way it develops, how it grows, getting better from year to year, going back, tasting what you've created, and it just brings me, just like I think it would bring other people a lot of joy, and I think that's a really amazing feeling, and it's really like satisfying.
Well, the winery itself is quite spectacular. This is new, I think. This building's about 11 years old or so right now, and it's just an amazing facility. You said that your passion is the winemaking side of the business, so why does that appeal to you?
I've always loved science, so I've always loved chemistry, and I've always loved biology. So initially when I was in high school, I was always deciding on what kind of route I wanted to take. And then I think since I started working in the winery this year, when I graduated last year, so this year I started working in the winery, and I think it truly just made me fall in love with wine. It's just amazing, the scents and the perfumes that you can smell in this like bottle, and I think it's just honestly, it's amazing how from a fruit you just get the juice out, and how you're able to change it and work with the wine and care for it until it becomes the product that you end up drinking. So for me, it's the satisfaction that the wine gives me from seeing it from start to finish, and also seeing us grow as a winery and just keep making higher quality wine. It just it had some appeal to me, and it honestly, I think that's what caught me.
Felix, what's your favorite part of the business?
I would say I am more of the innovation part. I would like to, there's certain aspects that have not been touched. So like making sure that we are running up to date in the management side and admin side. And it's a very beautiful analogy, because in the vineyards we work with horses, and we have 2 horses. There's 2 horses, one is innovation and one is tradition.
That's what they represent?
That's what they represent for us.
And they're in just a particular vineyard that they keep these horses for this reason?
So we make a reserve of Pignolo, which is a red variety autochthonous to the Friuli region. And our father decided to keep the tradition. We're going to work the land, work the vineyards only with the use of horses.
Still horse and plow, basically.
Horse and plow, yes, exactly. So as my sister beautifully said, that she is the winemaker and has the tradition and is basically mastering all the secrets from our winery. I see myself as the more of the innovation part. So we have the 2 horses working in the vineyards, and we are the 2 brothers that are pulling it forward. One innovation, one maybe tradition. That's maybe my little interpretation.
Well, it's very interesting because so what you're saying is that these 2 things, innovation and tradition, have to work together, right?
Definitely.
Because if there's just one without the other, then the plow doesn't move.
The plow doesn't move, or it doesn't move in a straight line.
Right.
And then you have no focus and you have no goal. Of course, most of the vineyards are straight, so they have to go this way. And together we have one common goal, to always improve our wines, keep the tradition, and move forwards. I think if we work within a synergy, and we have a beautiful synergy within our winery, all of our employees, all the people that we worked with, we've been working for numerous years. We have people that work with us for 25 years, 30 years.
Wow.
They've really devoted their whole lives to the winery, to the wine, to our passion, to their passion.
I think that's actually something that makes a difference in our winery. We have such amazing people working with us, with me even right now, in the wineries. And they coexist so well, they get along so well. And also, I think that it's just, to make good wine, you have to have a good environment in the winery. So if we have people that don't get along together, I think that's going to definitely affect the wine. And we have a team of amazing people. They're completely dedicated to the wine. You can see how much they love working in the winery. And I think that makes an extreme difference. And I think that's why also our wine is the way it is now.
What other important lessons did you learn from your father that come to mind?
I think there's definitely 3 very clear rules that we've learned from a young age, and that we kind of live and breathe. Order, cleanliness, tidiness, and order again. That's definitely something that we've learned from him, because the way you work in the winery, that's also the way we work outside. That's also the way we present ourselves to people. That's the way we work with people. So definitely being respectful to what you have and your surroundings and the products that nature gives you. It's very important.
Also not to waste. Not to waste. That's something very important for our dad.
So does that mean when they're picking the grapes, they make sure that they get all of them and not leave some behind?
Yeah, I mean, all of the ones that are good. All of the ones that are good, we make sure that we pick up. Also, we make sure that we don't waste maybe as little wine as possible. We try to always make it to good use.
Very clear example is all the water that falls on our surface area is redirected into our lake.
Oh, wow.
And in this lake we then use to irrigate the vineyards in extreme drought occasions.
Right.
And also all the water that we use within the winery for working, it's filtered and then used for irrigation as well. So that's a little example of how nothing goes to waste.
So I see this this slogan about with dreams that never end, or where dreams never end.
Where dreams have no end.
Oh, have no end. Okay, because it just says the W in dreams, but I was trying to remember what it stood for. So where dreams have no end, what does that mean?
Yeah, of course. So it's the name of one of our signature wines. It's called Where Dreams Have No End. And it's 97% of the best picked Chardonnay grapes. 3% is a family secret that we don't reveal, but makes the wine a little.
But you know what they are, don't you?
Well, of course.
It's okay.
You come and work in the winery and you figure it out. Well, of course. The name was inspired by the song Where the Streets Have No Name.
You too?
You too.
Exactly.
So Joshua Tree album, which we believe came out in '86, and the wine came out in '88, vintage '87. And my father was really inspired by the song, and so he decided to write a name of the wine that was inspired by the song.
I mean, the phrase actually does it also appeals to him, because our dad, he is a dreamer in the sense that in the night, if he goes to bed, the next morning he's always going to remember his dreams. He always remembers them. If he had a dream, he'll remember it. So that's one of the reasons why that name appealed to him so much, Where Dreams Have No End, because every day he'd always remember the dream, and he'd keep dreaming the night when he'd go to bed afterwards.
So, and do you believe that that phrase really captures the spirit of your winery? Is it constant dreams, you know, that it's a dream that you're living with no end?
Definitely 100%.
I definitely think so, yeah. I definitely think it fits very well.
And if we just look back at at the history, or like a couple of years ago when like our grandfather, Angelo Jerman, was working the vineyards, he had about 10 hectares of land. And our father was able to take that 10 hectares of land and transform it into 180 hectares of land. So it's been a constant dream, a constant work towards the goal, you know, like every day we do something towards the goal. And that's definitely, you need to have a dream in order to make it. You know, this winery, said it's new, was finished in 2007, but it took 7 years to make. I think it's important about every step you take, and like, because even though it seems small right now, it will definitely lead you somewhere. And especially if you have a clear vision, like the two horses have the clear vision of going forward, you'll definitely reach it one way or another.
And I don't know if this is a family secret either, but how many bottles of wine do you produce in a year?
So we do around 800,000 to some years 900,000 bottles per year.
Yeah, it depends on the vintage, of course.
And how many bottles were you producing maybe when you were born?
So when we were, that's a great question. Of course, our winery was much smaller. We only had one estate. So we only had the Fara di Zonzo estate, our historic winery. Right then we had probably around 80 to 100 hectares of land. And so we probably were making a little bit more than half of the size, so half the bottles, I would say. It's an estimate that I'm thinking of
but
right
roughly,
now.
So it's really, it's grown a lot.
It's grown definitely. Yes. This year, there's because of the very high yield in the vineyards, because the weather has been so great to us, we almost don't have any more space to put the wine in the winery.
No, actually, you're laughing, but it's actually been a problem. I work in the winery, right, during the harvest now. And the person I work with, he's called Hermano, and I could see him over there, you know, he was just trying to figure out where to put the wine because he didn't know how to work with it anymore.
The nature has been really good to us this year and has given out a lot. We just need to find where to put it.
And we know you don't waste any wine.
Exactly.
No, so we have to
you have to find space for all the wine. That's great. So with your family traditions, I mean, 5 generations, 1881, it all started. How much time did your parents teach you, or your father spend really teaching you about, you know, your great-great-grandfather, great-grandfather, grandfather, etc., you know, to learn what they did in their lifetime, you know, to bring the winery where it is?
I think it's a constant teaching, because it's not that he's gonna just start talking about our grandfather. It's more that the occasion sparks the conversation. So it's we'll be sitting at dinner with our grandfather, and he was just, something would remind him something, so he would spontaneously talk about either his war periods, how he used to work with his grandmother, with his wife, our grandmother, in the vineyards, or like the sacrifices that he did. It was just like, it's not obviously told at once, because you can't.
It'd be very long.
But it comes out slowly.
And do you marvel at it? I mean, do you look at what these people did, and is it something that you find inspiring for what you want to do in your life?
I think it's definitely inspiring. Most of all, I mean, I'm most inspired by my father. The winery did start in 1881, but I mean, the person who actually revolutionized the wine was our father. The amazing thing about this is that he revolutionized the wine while maintaining like a style of wine that he knew that we used to make or that our grandfather would like. So that's what I find inspiring, finding new ways to come up with good, high-quality wine, but still integrating some older and like really important passages and like methods. An example is that for the Capo Martino, we use Slavic oak. Capo Martino is one of our wines. It's mostly Friulano. The other varieties in it are Malvasia Istriana, Ribolla Gialla, and Picolit. And this wine we only do in Slavic oak. We only do it, and in different sizes, different size barrels. And the reason we do that is to bring back the idea of how Farra was when our dad worked there, because they didn't have the opportunity to buy all the same size barrels for that wine. So they just have to kind of put the wine in whatever like barrel they had available. And so that's one of the things, for example, that we kept. We have Capo Martino always in Slavic oak and always in different hectoliter barrels.
What's interesting, I know we're on the border of Slovenia here, so we're in Italy, but very close to Slovenia. And this is a really sort of one winemaking region, but it's two countries. And I saw something that your father published in a newspaper, I think it was in 2007 when this winery was opened. It talked about a vision or a dream that he had to see this all become one winemaking region. Does he talk to you about this, or how do you see it?
He definitely talks to us a lot about it, and we've actually started a new project. We're making now Visvik, which is a wine that we've been producing for 3 years now, and it's made. The vineyards are in Slovenia.
Right.
So we cultivate the vineyards in Slovenia. We grow the fruit there, but we press it here. This has been definitely a dream that kind of slowly coming true, because through our history, our family history, our ancestor Anton Jerman, he basically began his journey in Burgenland area in Austria, and then moved down to Slovenia, Biljana, really close here, across the border. And from there he went to Farra. Obviously, at the time, it was all under the Austrian-Hungarian Empire.
So we're going back, Austrian-Hungarian Empire covered all this area here.
Exactly. And, we come from a land that was once united.
Right.
And then because of the Second World War, First World War, actually, that the Austrian-Hungarian Empire lost.
Right.
The lands were divided, and
it was just drawn, on a piece of paper without thinking of any consequences that it could have. They just split a territory that's actually supposed to be united.
Right.
Yeah. So the earth, the ponca soil, the sedimentary soils that really make our terroir unique is the same in Slovenia and in Italy, in this small region. So it's the same place, but it's divided.
Well, it's interesting because if some people would say, "Oh, I'm getting an Italian wine," there's a certain thing in their minds about Italian wine. Say, "I'm getting a Slovenian wine," and it's like, "What's Slovenian wine?" But really, this is one winemaking region.
Yes.
And your father, he wrote in terms of a dream that he had for that in this article. I had to have it interpreted. I couldn't read it in the original language. But it's very interesting, how people are attached to the land and to the culture and the community around the land. And being fifth generation, I guess to a large extent you have to feel that. Do you feel that attachment? Like, this is where you belong, and that there's a tradition that's here that's important?
For my perspective, you were asking me at the beginning how I kind of got closer to the winery. Yeah. I've traveled a lot throughout my life, and after I graduated, I wasn't 100% sure I wanted to come back here. I've traveled in Australia and then spent 3 years in San Francisco. And through my time away, I really understood that I can be anywhere else in the world, but there's only going to be one true thing to me, which is going to be home.
Yeah. There's just a feeling, especially when you've been away for quite a while, there's almost like a small part of you which is not complete. There's a little piece that's possibly missing. At least that's how I felt when I went to San Francisco. There's something about this place that honestly just feels like home.
And always makes us come back to it. If we leave it, we lose part of us. Yeah. A very big part of us.
Well, like the Rivula vines, they have very deep roots. Right?
Yeah,
they're kind of stuck down there. Why do you think people love wine so much? I mean, you look at now, because you're in the business and you see the amount of consumption, and you ship it all over the world, and you're making all these really great wines here that people love, obviously, because they're buying them all over the world. Why? What is it about wine that people love?
For us, my point of view is that it transmits emotions. Yeah. It can really, through the smells, through the aromas, through the mouthfeel, you can really understand a place and really kind of almost like an open book if you know how to read it, regarding the producer, regarding the land. That is more maybe for more kind of educated palate, of course. But for the great majority of the people, I think it could be the communal environment that wine creates, the enjoyment of drinking it and sharing time together.
Yeah,
because
it brings people together.
It brings people together, and happiness is only really enjoyed, I think, if it's shared.
Yeah.
I think that what he said about the emotions is completely right, especially because when we're looking at a wine, when we're making it, we're also thinking, what sort of emotions do I want to transmit to the person that is drinking this wine? So if you're in company, you enjoy a glass of wine because it's the nice act of being able to share, of being able to celebrate something. And also just maybe it also enhances the situation you're in, the atmosphere, you know. I think it holds like a great power, considering it's such a, like, if you think about it, you would never think that wine could create such an atmosphere, but I think it has a great impact on it.
Yeah, because it's interesting, you know, people wouldn't say, well, you know, let's get some friends over and we'll share a bottle of vodka. I mean, maybe if you're a college student. But you know, when it comes to, getting together and sharing a bottle of wine just has a deeper spiritual nature, it seems like, you know, how it bonds people together.
Yeah, definitely, I would definitely agree.
So both of you now are in the, you know, in this business, you know, you're starting out, you know, in careers with great vision. What impact do you want to have on the world? What do you want to see that your efforts here, how is it going to affect people?
I think we have two different kinds of impacts. For the winery, we have a common one, but maybe for me, I wanna maintain the tradition that is in the wine. I want to make sure that no matter what kind of fashions that pop up, because that's a common thing in wine. Sometimes there's like a new fashionable thing, and people could get slightly like carried away. I want to make sure that I maintain like this wine that we have, and if possible, I mean, I would just like to keep improving the wine, keep improving the quality, keep doing the best that we possibly can in the winery to make sure that then what you have on the table is the best that we could do, you know, make sure that it's good wine, enjoy it, gives you emotions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely being able to communicate our passion and our history, our land, and possibly stimulate other people to come visit us, but also do the same in their own place, because wine is now grown almost anywhere in the world, and we would be happy to see more high quality wines. There's beautiful wines around the world, but definitely we would like to communicate our passion.
Yeah, and I could easily recommend walking around these grounds and this property, which you know, anybody who would come visit here would have a very good time. They would really enjoy themselves. It's a beautiful job that your family's done here.
Thank you. I mean, we take a lot of pride in it. Yeah, we're very proud of what we make, I think.
100%.
Well, I have to say that you know, looking at your faces, your vision, your excitement, it's very gratifying. I wish you very, very well in your careers here, and you know, may the next 5 generations of your family enjoy what you're enjoying right now. Thank you very much for sharing your time and your inspiration with us.
Of course, it's been a pleasure. It's great to know you, and we are really excited for the future to come, and thank you for sharing our passion. Yes. Right?
Yeah.
Well, it's beautiful outside here in the winery, and you are also a family member in this winery, Michaela. So how long have you been working here?
I started many years ago with my grandfather. Was very young, when he was only 14 years old in the vineyards with a tractor.
Yes.
And was very lucky because my grandfather also with me and Sylvia and Felix, we have passed the passion back to the agriculture in the winery.
And what work do you do today in the winery?
In the last 10 years, I was more for the PR marketing in Europe, Italy, also USA, Russia, depends.
So you're traveling to a lot of the countries to talk about the wine and work with the distributors
Yes.
and the importers?
Yes, yes,
Ah.
yeah.
And you enjoy that part of the business?
Yeah, it's very important because I think the people like more know the family, know the face of the wine. That it's very important for understand for the quality, understand for the base of the wine, it's the family.
Yes. So Felix, what's the significance of this place, this vineyard?
So this one here is the Pignolo grapes, which is a typical variety within our region. And it's that hillside, it's around 1 hectare of land, and we cultivate it only with the use of horses. So we have 2 very powerful horses. And what are their names?
Okay, so Mirko and Raro.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and they are workers,
Yeah.
and they are the horsepower that we use in this vineyard.
So you plow with the horse.
Exactly.
And what's the significance of the horses?
Well, it's to keep the tradition, to be more respectful to the environment. We also, with just the movement of the horses and how they walk, they kind of air out already the earth. So the whole movement is kind of like this synergy that creates within the vineyard, and it doesn't squash the roots.
Right.
So the roots have more air, they're not under stress, and they can then bring out all the nutrients to the plant.
So it has that the impact on the grapes and the quality of the grape.
Yes.
But you also told us about that one represents tradition, one represents innovation. So that is the actual field where that whole symbolism takes place.
That is the exact vineyard that the symbolism comes from.
Yeah, that we discussed earlier. And now there's a church back here that is important.
Yeah, it's important. Its name is Brda. It's a small part of the town, Dolenia El Coglio, because our family it's a very passionate about to the religious, about to the church.
Right.
For this thing, me, our family, our father, like to this part of the Dolenia El Coglio.
And this church has been there for how long? It's a very old church?
Yeah, it's very old. In the last few years, we make again the new style about the church.
Nice.
I don't know if you knew about this, but we also actually produce a wine that we give to churches to drink during Mass.
Tell me about that.
So it's this wine, it's called Costilli. And the different thing about this wine is that there's basically no sulfur addition. I say basically because it's actually impossible to have a wine without any sulfur in it.
Right.
And for Christmas and for Easter, we give out the wines to the churches and to the priests to enjoy.
I bet they're very happy when they get your wine.
Yeah, well, we hope so. We'd like to think so, right?
And the vineyard is right there where we do that.
Yeah.
From this one up here on the hill?
Yeah.
Wow. It's beautiful here, looking at the buildings and the hillside. And I have to come back and see the horses out there one day.
Please.
You should.
I will. So let's go look down at some other places.
Yeah.
Michele, so tell me about the rock.
Yeah, here with the special rock, the name is Ponca. So it's the heart of the Coglio Brda, that area. The Ponca is many level of the sandstone to the mudstone to also to the calcar. The roots pass through to the Ponca. It's the maintain to the character of the wine, character of the freshness, of the acidity. It's the in our wine.
So basically, this is the type of rock that's in the soil.
Yeah.
And that the vines are having to grow around.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets all its mineral flavor in these wines, is from that type of rock.
Yeah.
So they decided in the design of the vineyard to take a big chunk of that rock out of the ground and display it.
Yeah, some years ago we found in the special area so close to the winery, we found this rock we put here for the symbol of the land.
Yeah, because he was trying to find like a statue to put in the middle as the entrance, you know. And it's very rare to be able to find a rock which is this big, right?
Yeah.
It's usually like crumbled in a lot of pieces.
Yeah, that's that sandstone. I usually see it in little pieces like shale on the ground, but that's a huge rock. Yeah. So I wish that you could smell video, because I love when I walk in here, the smell. Are you used to it? Do you still smell like the wine or whatever that smell is in the barrel room?
Of course.
You do? Okay, because sometimes when you spend a lot of time in the same smell, you don't smell it anymore.
Well, we have to pay attention to every little smell,
Yeah.
especially now that we're in the harvest time, because we take care of the wines.
Yes.
And if they have any wrong smells, we have to react to it and take care of it.
Wow, so that's one way that you can pick up if something's wrong just by smelling. Wow.
So we, like every morning and every night when we are in a winery, we have to do a check. So we just walk about all the barrels that we have, and we just see how they are, talk to them, how they are, you know.
How often do they talk back?
They sometimes they fizzle, especially when they're in the fermenting time, and when they're unhappy, or maybe you haven't talked to them for a long time, then they will like erupt and come all the way out, and then you have to give them even more care and attention, which is really a neat thing.
Now I see that, who are these people that are up here on this barrel?
That's our grandparents, Nonno Angelo and Nonna Bruna, and this barrel was dedicated to them for their 60 years of matrimony.
Oh wow!
That they did in the 23rd of April 2009.
Wow.
We celebrated it, and for this big occasion, our dad decided to dedicate this barrel to our grandparents. And this barrel actually is in Slavic oak.
Oh, it's Slavic.
Yeah,
okay.
it's handmade by
Stockinger.
Yeah.
Wow, and it's 6,000 liters?
6,000 liters.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
They have a lot of wine dedicated to them, huh?
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
This
and
is
then
for vintage Tunina.
Yeah.
vintage Tunina, what does that mean?
It's
That's
one of our
wine.
cru wines.
Oh, one of your cru wines, okay.
Field blend, yes.
Yeah, very beautiful. Well, I can't wait to try some of that. Will help me stay married for 60 years if I do that?
Yeah. Well, they call it the wine of love.
The wine of love.
So.
I'm all in. Perfect, perfect. And what do we have? I see a whole nother barrel room down here. So these, what do you store down here, Michela?
Here we have the dreams. It's a special Chardonnay in the barrels. Use 5 passage and 20 new barrels, 30 seconds, 3, 4, 5 passage. Our first buy with the U2 song in 1987, and we released in the market in 1988.
Okay, yeah, so you see the vintages are on the outside of the barrels, so you know what you have.
And we have also the special size of the barrels, 300 liters.
Yes, 300 barrels, that's bigger than normal, isn't it?
Yeah.
So these are barriques. Barriques.
Yeah,
Oh,
these are
barriques is what they call them?
Yeah, but usually they're 225 liters barriques.
Okay.
These are 300.
So when you go to 300, what does that do for the wine? How does it change it?
The reason why we do that is because we've had this barrique in our family.
Yes.
And so we wanted to maintain that Austrian-Hungarian tradition and keep using that same size barrique.
So the barrels that were used way back when in Austria,
in our family,
in your family were 300.
Yeah.
What's the normal size?
225.
Okay, so you guys do things different.
Yeah, we do it our own way.
And that's what gives your wine its own character and its own personality, I imagine, right?
Definitely right, so.
Yes, that's terrific. So Felix, what do we have here?
This is our family tree.
Family, it doesn't look like a tree, it looks like a family of barriques.
It kind of looks like a grape, actually.
It's a grape cluster?
It's a grape cluster.
You have great imagination.
But no, this is our family tree.
Who's on the top?
On the top is our ancestor Anton Jerman, that started the winery in 1881. Wow. And then we have here Michele, our great-grandfather, Angelo, our grandfather, Silvio, our dad, and this is us four, and 3 of us are here present working in the winery. We have Michele, the oldest one, me in the middle, and then Silvia Tunina.
So, and now, why did they name you Tunina?
Well, so the reason why I was called Silvia Tunina is actually because the day I was born, the Vintage Tunina, our wine, it actually won the Best White Wine of Italy award.
Wow.
So as a consequence, that was my second name.
How do you feel about that?
I used to be a bit ashamed of it as a kid just because it sounded a bit different. But now, as it is, I really like it. I mean, I'm really proud of my second name.
You got to feel like you have to live up to the best now.
I have to live up to our best, one of our best wines. Yeah.
That's great. Wow, what a great way to represent your family. I guess after time they're gonna have to keep building it a little taller.
Yeah, it's gonna expand quite a bit.
That's great. Well, let me tell you, if you had a family legacy that you had to safeguard and hand down to 2 kids, wouldn't you feel good about these 2 kids? Anyway, I really enjoyed my time. They were amazing hosts for myself and our entire crew. And if you ever make it to that part of the world, I recommend that you go check their place out too. I hear this term very often used for wine experts called a sommelier. What is that?
Sommelier is a wine steward, is a wine expert. It's a person that has gone to school and has access to tasting wine and knowledge of wine. So then when you go to a restaurant or you have a question, he has the knowledge for you. So sommeliers in a restaurant are extremely important, and they shouldn't be the scary figure that looks over your table, and you shouldn't be...
Well, that's the question. I mean, like if I'm somebody who doesn't really understand wine very well, but I want to have a great food and wine experience, you know, this person's an expert, so I don't want to sound like an idiot when I'm talking to him. So how do I approach that?
No, absolutely. That is the worst thing to do, is feeling inferior or feeling that you don't know something that he knows. He's there, sommelier is there to give you that information. And so telling a sommelier what you like or what you would like out of the night. And sometimes challenge a sommelier and say like, you know what, tonight I am extremely happy and I want to celebrate. And the sommelier has the knowledge to pick up a bottle of wine for that occasion. Sommelier has also an experience and has the palate of matching a wine that maybe they don't have with something that they have that is very similar. So never be intimidated by a sommelier, but use it as a source of information. It's like your Google app of information on your phone, but you have a live person.
Is it appropriate, like, you know, I have a certain budget in mind. You know, I want to spend X dollars on wine with my dinner tonight. So would I say, hey, you know, this is what we're looking at eating, and this is my budget. What do you recommend? Is that like an appropriate thing to do?
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Because and the budget is something that you should always be forward and open about it, because you're making the sommelier choice much easier. Knowing what budget, they'll pick the best wine on your budget. But if they don't know kind of what budget you have, it's very difficult for them too.
Because they're going to know their own cellar too, right? So they kind of know what's drinking maybe well at a certain point in time. But it's like a tough thing when I'm like, if I'm looking at the person saying, I'm not sure exactly what to drink, let them pick a bottle. Question I guess I would have is, do you think it's a better call to go with, some restaurants have wine pairing. Do you think it's a better call to go with the pairing that they have put together for maybe a prefixed menu, or do you think you're better off ordering your own bottle?
It's 50s. You don't go wrong anyway. Sometimes I like to pick a bottle, even though there is a wine pairing, just because I want to drink that specific wine, or I have a vintage in mind, or sometimes we are celebrating something and we see a year that reminds us a story, and so I take that bottle as an excuse to talk about that year that happened, where sometimes I go with the wine pairing because the chef and the sommelier in the restaurant put that wine pairing on purpose to give you an experience that would be very difficult to do on your own unless you open the 6-7 bottles of wine.
Next up is my interview with Simone Costilli. He is sort of this heroic Lone Ranger type character that runs a small winery with great focus and a lot of pride. He knows a lot about winemaking. He's got a very definitive way of doing things the way he does it, and you're going to learn a lot from him. So tune into this particular interview. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us right here at your property, which is very beautiful. And as always, Marco, thank you for helping with the conversation, interpretation, and all those good things.
Always good being me.
Yeah. So Simone, tell us about your history. How did you get into winemaking?
Okay, my history is very, very simple, finally, because when I was 23, I was graduated in agriculture, and my father was an enologist like now. My father is an enologist from the date I'm born.
And your father, as an enologist, not just a typical one, Marco tells me that he was very, very well known in Italy.
Yes, he's very, very well known, but he's he goes all over the world and very open-minded and a lot of days for a year was far from home. So my decision was to produce, to stay in a place. So I asked my father, please give me the chance to produce wine, because your life is too quick for me.
You didn't want that life of travel all over the place.
No, I prefer to stay in a place and to work there and to every day to see what happens.
And how did he respond to that?
It was very, very happy.
Yeah.
And was of course it was a pity to waste his experience. And so we decided to make a small adventure here in Maremma 21 years ago.
21 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just graduated. And the history starts in a funny way. There was a signal outside from the door of this property, and they were selling the property. And just we saw, and we like it, and we start to work day by day. And now after the time was running, and now is my property, my winery is come si dice, avviato.
It's started, it's already grown in and working very well.
Yeah.
Did your father come and look at this property to see if he thought it was a good property for making wine?
Of course, it was a mix between technical and lucky.
And which is it more, technical or lucky?
Absolutely lucky.
So does your father consult with you a lot in the winery?
At first, no.
Because you didn't want him to, or he didn't want to?
We were like two
butt heads.
But
like most fathers and sons when they get into business.
It's the right way to start.
Yes, yeah.
And he let me work absolutely in total autonomy. And then when the business was growing, he started to follow me. But the first 5 years, it was just a train for me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And what was your vision for the wines? What kind of wines did you want to make?
At first?
Yes.
It was the same, like now. To produce a good wine. Good wine means generous wine, not too complex, not too cerebral, and to allow people to drink it. So the idea of my wine, and I think the idea of a lot of properties in Maremma, is to give something good, very good, and something affordable.
What kind of grapes are you growing?
Of course, like in all the rest of Tuscany, the grapes are Sangiovese. But we can say that Maremma is another Tuscany. Also, the rest of producers call us the other Tuscany.
When you say other
Tuscany, because it's for climatic reasons.
Okay.
Because we are very close to the sea. It's not a question. The style became from the nature.
Right.
And for example, now there is a breeze. Every day this breeze starts at 10 o'clock and stop at 18 p.m. So in the afternoon.
Right.
And also the sun. The sun is like looks like an island. So we have a strong breeze every day in the summer. The sun is very high. And this gives different conditions in comparison with the other areas. So the area give the climate is like an island, we can say. The lucky of this place is that we have a filter, natural filter, made by wood, forest,
yes,
between us and the sea. So the salt stop in the first level of the forest. And here arrives only the wind with less, we call salmastro in Italy, is with a salty area, salty wind.
Yeah. So what's interesting, you described that your own winemaking philosophy is to create a wine that is, use the word generous.
Yeah.
Meaning a good fruit, like a meaning, what do you mean by generous?
Generous means to offer something people like. I
Something enjoyable.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can say I think is no one can drive the production to have more fruit or more.
Yeah.
It's a question to make all the effort to give something good to people.
And you also said less cerebral, so you're not looking to make deeply complex wines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that you can produce deep wine, complex wine, but not too much. Because when the complexity became an exercise for few people, it's not interesting for me. The area is very simple. This area is basic.
Yeah.
You can see it's all nice green, the sea, few people, very few people. With Scotland and Normandy, it's one of the places with the lowest population in Europe.
Oh wow! So you seem to have a sort of philosophy of simplicity for the wine. You just it's basic. It's the earth. It's the environment that's here, and then you just want it to be a very, to use your term, generous wine that's not complicated.
But no, it's very complicated.
Yeah.
Because simplicity is not easy.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah, simplicity means to have a clear idea about what to do. I need a nice color, a round body, full body. I need to reduce a little bit the tannins. And I need to produce a wine which is good to age. I need to produce a wine where the balance between fruit, wood, and spices is okay. So finally, if I want to give a simple result, I have to work a lot. So it's a work every day. I'm not moving with myself like my father, but every day I try to change my work.
Right.
Every year. So, for example, when we started, it was, of course, easier because the climate was easier. But now we are working in the vines to respect the grapes, to avoid the sun direct. We work on the shadow part.
Right.
Okay, this is in the vines.
Right.
And in the cellar is very, very everyday work, just to make the fine tunings.
Right. Interesting. So, Marco, you obviously love these wines, which is why you brought us here. What is your experience? What was it about these wines that you thought we had to sit with Simone?
First of all, I love the area. I grew up drinking the wines of the Morellino area, the Scansano area, and they always had a warmth, a level of everydayness, a level of fruit and simplicity that comes with an elegance that makes relax. When I drink these wines are extremely easy. They make me at ease because, as Simone said, they're not complicated, but they're very, very gentle. And
So, Simone, how much production do you have now? How many bottles are you making per year?
The range is between 150,000 and 180,000.
And are you looking to grow that or to stay about where you are?
It's difficult to say because I saw that when you try to grow, if you try to grow one step, the quality slope down much more than the growth.
Yes.
So the first aim is to keep constant the quality, and then if it's possible with the organization and the management, I will try to grow. But I need to offer the same wine.
Yes.
This is the idea.
Yeah.
I don't want to change the style, and I want to change the quality, and the necessity is to sell my clients the same taste and the same flavors of the actual wine.
So how many different wines do you make?
It's a nice history because Morellino di Scansano is the aim of our production, and all the other wines born to serve Morellino. In 2007, we create the rosé wine. The rosé wine was by bleeding method.
What does that mean, a bleeding method?
Bleeding method is to take off from the tank a small amount of juice before bring the color.
So you take some juice out and then...
And the rest of the tank gain color.
So you're bleeding some of the juice out of the tank,
Yeah.
which is why they call it bleeding method.
Yeah.
Are you finding rosés are becoming more popular? Do your customers really look for that wine?
Rosé is, when I started in 2007, no one was producing rosé in this area. Now it's a trend. It's very, very, yeah. So it's very different, the concept of rosé. Maybe now is the necessity are rosé light, less alcohol, less structure, drinkable wines.
Right. Okay, and what other wines do you make?
The second wine, born just a few years ago in 2015, because of the climate change. Because it was too difficult to keep constant the quality with my Morellino, because of sometimes it came too much rain, hailstorms, and you know. And,
so let me just, because a couple of people mentioned this. So in your 20 plus years that you've been here,
yeah,
you've noticed distinct climate change.
Absolutely, yes.
Like, in other words, it's not like it wasn't just a year that was a little bit different, but there's a trend in the change in the climate that's causing you to change your winemaking practices?
Yeah. When I arrived in 1998, the climate wasn't so difficult more with the production. From 2014, our think about the climate is more and more. We have to think about the climate a lot. And the last years, from 2015, we wait something extraordinary every week. For example, a lot of rain or some hailstorm.
Wow.
So we have to move the production with the complications of the climate change. And this is the reason because I created the second wine, which is a simpler wine, because not all the production may give the premium wines. Because sometimes it's too cold, for example. Sometimes some hailstorm comes and bite the 40% of the production. So the difficult part of our work is to move in the climate change.
Yeah, so this is a big consideration, I guess, that all winemakers are facing right now.
Yeah.
And do you all talk about this amongst each other, about how you deal with the climate change?
It's difficult to say because here in this countryside, everyone doesn't speak of of their problems. So with other producers.
Yes.
So if it comes a hailstorm, I make a call. It's all okay? Absolutely yes. But they prefer to stay.
Yeah.
But no, and finally with the consortio we are speaking, but we can do nothing finally.
Yeah.
We can only drive in this new situation.
With climate change, has it changed the character of the wines that are produced, and how so?
Absolutely yes. I see that is it's a strange thing because I find that the wines are more flowery, and sometimes it's difficult to keep the body of the wine. It's strange. Maybe it's a condition. I felt in the grapes something different. Sometimes I can say exactly what, but it's difficult more and more to keep the quality.
Yeah.
Sometimes the grapes are, for example, a little bit green in the harvest. So you have to manage the problem of a green hint.
Yeah.
Sometimes the bouquet move to the flowers.
Interesting.
Less fruit, more flowers. It's a not ordinary situation for me.
Yeah. So you said you have these two labels. Are there additional wines you're making?
Yeah, and now I'm trying something with a white wine, traditional grape, which is called Trebbiano. It's an experimentation. It's just to see what will happen.
Okay.
But finally, these three wines are made by the same grape. So Rosé is Sangiovese. My entry-level wine, which is called Badilante, is Sangiovese, and the Morellino is Sangiovese.
Okay.
So this is a sign of the great character of these grapes, which is able to produce long-aging wine and simpler wines.
What do you see in the future for your winemaking business?
I think that it's not as simple to say, but produce wine in this area, maybe everywhere, is not a question only of business, because a lot of producers which consider the wine only the business fail.
Yes.
Finally, produce wine means live in the property, speak every day with the workers, to build a team, to stay hands and feet in the work.
Yes.
So for me it's a little bit, come si dice, presuntuoso.
Arrogant. A little
Arrogant
bit,
to see what I will do. Yeah. I'm trying to do better.
Yeah.
So finally, it don't depends only from me. Depends a lot from the area, because this area has a huge potential. We have in front of us the archipelago of Tuscan islands. It's a fantastic place.
Yeah.
And depends from people which was working for me. If people which are working for me are happy, my business will grow.
Just like any other business, yes.
Yeah.
This area that you're making wine in has an area designation, you know, what they call DOCG.
DOCG.
And so what is the designation of this area? What's it called?
The area is, here we produce Morellino di Scansano. Scansano is the town.
Scansano,
Like
okay, that's where you are,
yeah.
okay. And that's also one of the labels of your wines?
Is the focus label of my wines.
So in that wine, is it? It should be built, I guess, that you want to represent the area. The experience of the wine represents the area. So how would you describe that?
Morellino is a distinctive character. Is a medium body to full body wine, and medium aging. To medium, from medium to long aging, and the deep in color and structure, and the color and the tannins are a little bit sweet. It's not a sweetness which becomes from sugars, but from the softness of tannins.
Yeah.
Because probably from the climate and the environment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Simone, thank you for introducing us to your philosophy, this region of winemaking, and also your wines. It's really, to me, fascinating to understand how these different areas, you know, relate to each other, and how they have their own character, and how there's people seemingly that their desire, the winemaker, is to represent. You know, it's like representing your team. You know, when it's like representing your area. So thank you very much for that. And Marco, as always, thank you so much for helping out with the interpretation of all this.
Absolutely. Let's go have a glass of Morellino.
Yes.
Okay.
We'll go experience this now so we can bring it to life. So thank you.
It was a pleasure to have you here.
It was great spending time with Simone. He really had a lot to share, and he does things his own way. It's nice to see somebody express themselves with that much focus. So thank you for tuning into this interview. Marco, I see a lot of awkwardness when people are trying to open bottles of wine. Can you actually show us how to do it properly?
Yes, absolutely. It's very easy, and most of the time I like to keep talking as I open the wine, because I am not doing anything special, but always have a wine opener. Make sure that it's sharp. It's
That's to cut the foil.
It's putter. So you want to cut the foil and put the knife of the wine opener against the lip of the neck. So you're using, and you're rotating the bottle to cut the foil neatly. And then you can do a clean cut up, and the foil will easy come out neatly. You can put that on the side. Then you're trying to extract the cork as center as you can. So you start from the middle, and you apply a little bit of pressure, and you just let this tool to do its job. Go almost all the way through, and modern wine opener, they usually have a couple of different leverages, couple of different places where you can use for leverage. You can use your hand to start letting the cork come out, and then you use the second level that put in one hand to secure the wine opener all the way through. It should get it almost all the way out, and at the end you can just wiggle it and it will come out.
Nice. Now you just smelled the cork. Why'd you do that?
I always smell the cork because I want to, it's my first contact with the bottle. I want to see if there is a little bit of cork. I can smell, and I already know from the cork if the wine will be good or not.
You used the term, I think, corked. So what does that mean?
Nowadays, we're experiencing a shortage in cork, so a lot of wineries choose to go with enclosures in their bottles that are either made out of glass, or they're made out of bamboo, or they're made out of materials other than cork. But cork is made out of a plant, and there is a substance that is referred to TCA that can affect the wine.
Is it, when you say substance, is like a mold, or is it like
it's a mold, it's a substance that really, when in touch with just even a small drop, it can affect and ruin the wine. One thing that I want to say, though, that I never stress enough, what we're drinking is wine. It's a live product, and I think it's becoming almost a fashion today to call a wine corked. It's almost an excuse. Not every bottle will be perfect. Not every vintage will be perfect. But I think the rarity to have a cork wine is definitely becoming...
So when they say it's corked, that means the wine is spoiled because of the mold on the cork.
Exactly. But those bottles are very rare. And those stick out like a wet dog.
Yeah.
In fact, wet
doesn't leave much imagination.
It doesn't leave imagination. All the other bottles, sometimes they have a flaw, they have a defect, but it's wine. It's a natural product. That it should be okay. But so after we smelled and the wine is okay, I always like to pass the cork around. So the people with me, the people at my table, they get a chance to smell that too.
Do you look for moisture too to make sure if it's dry or not?
You touch it. You always get from the cork its integrity. If it is still like hard and moist on the tip, it always means that it's a healthy cork. And then you proceed to taste the wine and serve the wine.